What if the path to emotional healing after a breakup wasn't about fighting the pain, but about gently listening to it? What if, within that very ache, lies the key to a peace you haven't felt in a long time, a way to finally let go and find yourself again? I know the feeling, the deafening silence in a room that was once filled with laughter, the mental loop of replaying conversations, the heavy feeling of being lost, and the quiet fear that the emptiness might last forever. It's a unique kind of pain, one that can make it hard to breathe, hard to sleep, and even harder to believe you'll ever feel whole again. You're searching for a way to heal from a painful past, for a calm voice to guide you through the loneliness. The great Zen masters taught that a broken heart is not an ending, but an opening. They saw that true strength isn't about never breaking. It's about how we gather our pieces. They knew that the deepest peace often comes after the greatest storms. You don't need to be a Buddhist or even a spiritual person for these stories to work their quiet magic. In fact, even if your mind is filled with doubt and you think this won't work for me, just allow yourself to listen. This isn't about forcing yourself to move on. It's an invitation to simply be still and let a different kind of healing begin. In the time we spend together in this video, through these Zen stories for heartbreak, we will walk a gentle path. As you listen to this calm voice, you may feel something heavy begin to soften, one story at a time. This is a space for your emotional healing to unfold naturally. So, find a comfortable position. Let your shoulders fall away from your ears. Take a slow, deep breath. Let us begin this journey not to erase a memory, but to find the unshakable peace that has always been waiting within you. We ended our opening thoughts with a promise of peace. A promise that I know can feel like a distant star when you are lost in a deep and starless night. Your inner world may feel less like a peaceful sanctuary and more like a sacred temple after an earthquake, dust settling on shattered relics, silence where there was once chanting. And in the center of the floor lies the most precious artifact of all in pieces. So, let us stay here in this quiet, broken place for a while. And let me tell you in more detail about a teacup. Imagine it in its first life. It was born from the earth, from a place of dark, humble clay. But in the hands of a master, it was transformed. It was spun on a wheel, its shape emerging from a spinning blur into a form of perfect, symmetrical grace. It was fired in the kiln, enduring an inferno, and emerged not scorched, but purified, its body turned to fine, white porcelain. The master then painted it, a single, elegant brushstroke of a crane in flight, a symbol of longevity and good fortune. This cup was the embodiment of perfection. Its lip was perfectly round, its surface flawless and cool, like a placid lake on a windless morning. When filled with steaming amber-green tea, it seemed to hold not just a beverage, but a moment of time. To drink from it was to participate in a ritual of stillness. It was used in quiet ceremonies celebrating the changing seasons, held by hands that understood its value and fragility. Its existence was a testament to control, to beauty born of flawlessness, a silent poem to the ideal of the unbroken. It knew nothing of violence, of impact, of falling. Its world was one of predictable grace. Then came the day it was broken. It wasn't a dramatic event. It was a simple human moment, a sleeve catching the edge of a table, a moment of distraction, a gasp, and then the long, slow motion fall through the air. For a split second, it was still a perfect cup, just in the wrong place. And then it met the hard, unyielding stone floor. The sound was not a crash. It was a conclusion, a sharp, crystalline finality that echoed in the sudden, vast silence of the room. It was the sound of an identity ceasing to be. The perfect cup was gone. In its place lay a disaster, a constellation of fragments, some large, some small as a grain of rice. The elegant crane was now a fractured puzzle, its flight brutally interrupted. The pieces, once a unified whole, were now just sharp-edged reminders of a past perfection. They were dangerous to touch. They held no tea. They held no purpose. They were, in a word, garbage. The young student who had dropped it felt the shatter in his own chest. His hands trembled as he reached for a dustpan. His mind was a storm of shame and regret. It's lost. Forever. I broke it. I destroyed something beautiful. To him, the story was over. The only decent thing to do was to sweep away the evidence of his failure, to dispose of the painful memory. But the old master, hearing the sound, entered the room. He didn't look at the student. His gaze went straight to the pieces on the floor. He knelt, not with the haste of someone cleaning a mess, but with the slow, deliberate grace of a gardener tending to a wounded plant. He didn't see a ruin. He saw potential. He saw the next chapter of the cup's story waiting to be written. For many days, the master's studio was silent save for the soft sounds of his work. With the patience of a mountain, he gathered every single piece, even the tiniest shards, arranging them on a dark velvet cloth. He cleaned their edges. He studied how they once fit together. Then he began the true work. He prepared a special lacquer, a dark, sticky resin called urashi. But he did not use it alone. Into this dark lacquer, he mixed a fine powder of pure, shimmering gold. He wasn't using glue. Glue is for hiding. Glue says, let's pretend this never happened. The golden lacquer was for something else entirely. It was for honoring. He took the first two pieces, applied the golden lacquer to their broken edges, and pressed them together. A thin, brilliant line of gold seeped out, sealing the join. He held them perfectly still for as long as it took for the bond to form. He did this with every piece. Each crack, each fissure, Each jagged line became a new vein in the body of the cup. He was not just repairing it. He was tracing its history in gold. He was celebrating its wound. When the final piece was set, he let it cure for weeks. And when it was finally ready, the cup was reborn. It was not the same cup. It was infinitely more beautiful. The stark white porcelain was now a landscape, crisscrossed by a map of golden rivers. The light caught these golden lines, making the cup seem alive, illuminated from within. The breaks were not flaws to be overlooked. They were now the most compelling part of the object. They told the story of a fall, but they also told the story of a loving, patient reclamation. The cup was stronger where it had been broken. It was a living metaphor for resilience. It was a masterwork, not of perfection, but of redemption. Its value, its soul, had deepened beyond measure. It was beautiful not in spite of being broken, but because it had been broken. And you, does this story not echo in the silent chambers of your own heart? That shattering sound, it is the sound of a future you had planned disappearing. It is the sound of an identity, partner, lover, part of a whole, vanishing in an instant. One moment, you are this whole, complete vessel, holding the warmth of a shared life. The next, you are on the floor in pieces, and the first voice that rushes into that deafening silence is the voice of the inner critic, the student with the dustpan. It whispers, and then it shouts, "You are broken. You are damaged goods. Who would want something so full of cracks? Your story of love is over." We look at the fragments of our life, the lonely evenings, the shared songs we can no longer hear, the inside jokes that now only bring pain, the photos we can't bear to look at, and we see them as proof of our failure. We feel a profound, aching shame for our own brokenness. We might put on a brave face for the world, pretending to be fine, while inside we are desperately trying to hide the jagged edges from everyone, including ourselves. We believe our worth was tied to that state of unbrokenness, that smooth, flawless version of our life. And now that it's gone, we feel our value has plummeted. The most painful part of this is the belief that healing means becoming who we were before. We long for that person who could laugh without a shadow of sadness, who could trust without a hint of fear. But this is a ghost hunt. Chasing that past self is a recipe for endless suffering, because that person, like the original teacup, no longer exists. We tell ourselves we can never be the same, and in that statement, we are absolutely right. But we have been taught to interpret not the same as less than. We have been conditioned to see a scar as an ugly mark of damage, rather than a beautiful testament to a battle survived. This is where the deep, transformative wisdom of Kintsugi breathes life back into us. It's more than a beautiful metaphor. It is a spiritual technology for healing the heart. The core insight isn't just that you can heal. It is that the break itself is the raw material for your masterpiece. The wound is not an obstacle to your beauty. It is the invitation to discover a beauty you never knew you possessed. Our modern world is obsessed with perfection, with flawlessness. We airbrush our photos, we curate our online lives, and we treat emotional pain like a software bug that needs to be patched and updated as quickly as possible. We are given 1,000 platitudes. Time heals all wounds. Get back out there. Just forget about them. This is the emotional equivalent of using cheap, invisible glue. It's an attempt to create the illusion of being unbroken, but the cracks are still there, deep in the structure, and the next time life puts a little pressure on us, we shatter in the exact same places. The hidden wound becomes a recurring weakness. The Zen master's approach is the opposite. He doesn't hide the break, he makes it the centerpiece. The gold does not say, "Nothing happened." The gold proclaims with quiet confidence, "Something profound happened here. I fell. I broke. I felt the pain of being in pieces. And then, with patience and love, I gathered myself. I traced my own wounds. With acceptance and compassion, this golden line is not a scar. It is a river of light. It is proof that I can hold my own brokenness and transform it into art. This is the psychological alchemy of post-traumatic growth. It is the conscious choice to see your pain not as a random, meaningless event, but as a crucible that can forge a stronger, more compassionate, more authentic version of you. The intense heat of heartbreak burns away the non-essential. It burns away the need for others' approval, the fear of being alone, the superficial layers we build around ourselves. What is left is the core of who you are. And from that core, you begin to mend. The patience you learn while sitting with your own pain becomes the lacquer. The self-compassion you discover when you stop blaming yourself becomes the gold dust. You are not just fixing yourself. You are consciously, artfully creating your new self. The strength you gain is not the rigid strength of something that has never bent. It is the flexible, resilient strength of bamboo, of a Kintsugi bowl, something that knows how to yield, how to break, and how to become more beautiful at the broken places. You are not meant to go back. You are meant to go through and emerge, not unscathed, but illuminated. Let's allow this to sink in, not as a concept, but as a possibility for you. As you sit here listening, can you bring to mind one specific aspect of your heartbreak that feels like the sharpest, most shameful fragment? Is it the feeling of not being enough? Is it the memory of a specific hurtful word? Is it the crushing weight of loneliness on a Sunday afternoon? Now, can you imagine, just for a moment, looking at that painful fragment, not with judgment, but with the quiet, curious eyes of the old master? What if that specific pain isn't your personal failure, but your personal invitation? What if the place where you feel most broken is the very place where your greatest strength and deepest compassion are waiting to be born. What golden lesson is waiting inside that specific crack? Here is a gentle invitation, an act of quiet ceremony for one. Later today, or perhaps tomorrow morning, make yourself a warm drink, a cup of tea, of coffee, of whatever brings you a small measure of comfort. As you hold the warm cup in your hands, I invite you to close your eyes. Feel the warmth seep into your palms. This warmth is your own presence, your own aliveness. Now bring to mind the image of your heart as a Kintsugi bowl, crisscrossed with shining golden lines. See it not as a damaged organ, but as a precious, resilient work of art. Each golden line is a moment of sadness you survived, a wave of anger you breathed through, a night of loneliness you endured. They are not scars of weakness, but veins of strength. With each sip of your drink, silently offer a word of gratitude to your own heart for its incredible resilience. You might say, "Thank you for continuing to beat. Thank you for holding this pain without shutting down completely. Thank you for being willing to heal." This is not about forcing a feeling. It's about planting a seed. It is a small 5-minute ritual of honoring the masterpiece you are becoming. If this resonates, perhaps the only thing you share in the comments is the simple phrase, "Today, I honored my heart." There is a quiet power in declaring such a simple, profound act. The Kintsugi teacup sits in a place of honor, more revered than it ever was in its original, perfect state. It doesn't need to speak. Its story is told in the silent, shimmering language of its golden scars. It teaches us the most profound truth of healing. Peace is not the absence of cracks. Peace is falling in love with the beauty of your own repaired self. Your heart, right now, might feel like it's in 1,000 pieces, but you are not the brokenness. You are the master craftsman holding the gold. The cracks are not the end of your story. They are simply where the light begins to enter. So, we have honored the broken places. We have sat with the shattered teacup of our heart and seen the possibility of tracing its cracks with gold. It's a beautiful, powerful first step. But even as we commit to this gentle repair, there is something else, isn't there? A ghost that haunts the quiet moments. It isn't just the memory of the fall. It's the constant, exhausting act of carrying the memory itself. It's the weight of yesterday pressing down on today. Let us walk for a moment along a muddy path through a dense forest. 2 Zen monks, an old, serene master named Tanzan, and a young, earnest novice named Aikido, are on a long journey back to their monastery. They walk in silence, a practice of their order, their feet making soft sounds on the damp earth. The air is thick with the smell of rain-soaked soil and decaying leaves. A storm has just passed, leaving the world glistening and alive. As they round a bend, they come to a place where the path is completely washed out. A wide, muddy river of rainwater moving swiftly, has cut across their way. Standing at the edge, looking distressed, is a young woman in a beautiful silk kimono. She is clearly of high station, and she is stranded. She needs to get to the other side, but cannot without soiling her fine clothes and risking being swept away by the current. She looks at the two monks with pleading eyes. The young monk, Aikido, is bound by strict precepts. A monk must not touch a woman. He must not even look at a woman for too long, lest it stir worldly thoughts. He is a serious student and takes these rules to heart. He averts his gaze, pretending not to see her predicament. He feels a pang of pity, but his commitment to the rules is stronger. He prepares to find another way, perhaps a long detour upstream. But the old master, Tanzan, simply smiles at the woman. Without a word, he walks up to her, bends down, and lifts her into his arms. He carries her through the churning, muddy water, his own robes becoming soaked and heavy with silt. On the other side, he sets her down gently. She bows deeply, her face full of gratitude, and speaks her thanks. Tanzan simply nods, smiles once more, and turns to continue his journey. Aikido is speechless. He is horrified. He quickly follows his master, his mind a raging tempest. He cannot believe what he has just witnessed. His teacher, a respected master, has flagrantly broken one of the most sacred rules. He touched a woman. He carried her. Aikido's mind begins to race, composing lectures, formulating questions, replaying the scene over and over. How could he do that? What will people say? Has he forgotten his vows? What kind of a master is this? He defiled himself. And for what? A pretty girl in a silk kimono. For the rest of the journey, Aikido is consumed by this event. The beautiful forest, the birdsong, the feeling of the sun breaking through the clouds, he notices none of it. His inner world is filled with the muddy river, the woman's face, and his master's outrageous act. He is burning with indignation, with judgment, with a feeling of righteous anger. He keeps his silence, as is the custom, but it is a loud, furious silence. His fists are clenched, his jaw is tight. They walk for miles, 1 hour, 2 hours. The sun begins to set, casting long, golden shadows through the trees. Finally, as they approach the monastery gates, Aikido can bear it no longer. The pressure inside him is too great. He bursts out, his voice shaking with pent-up emotion. "Master," he says, stopping in his tracks, "we monks are not to go near women, especially not young and lovely ones. It is dangerous. Why did you do that? Why did you carry that woman across the river?" Tanzan stops and looks at his young student. His face is not defensive, not angry, not even apologetic. It is calm, open, and filled with a gentle confusion. He looks at Aikido as if he's talking about something that happened a lifetime ago. He blinks, then smiles softly. "Oh, that woman," he says, his voice as peaceful as the evening air. "I left her by the river hours ago. Are you still carrying her? Aikido's shock at that final question is a shock that should echo within each of us. Because aren't we all Aikido? After a breakup, after the initial shattering, what follows is the carrying. The relationship is over. The person is gone. The door has closed. And yet, we continue to carry them with us every single moment of the day. We carry them in the form of replayed conversations, a mental cinema that screens our greatest hits of pain on a loop. We analyze every word, every silence. What did they mean when they said that? If only I had said this instead. Why did they do it? What was the moment it all went wrong? We carry them in the form of phantom arguments, where we finally say all the clever, cutting, or heartbreaking things we wish we had said. We win these arguments, of course, but the victory is hollow, and it leaves us exhausted. We carry them into our work, our minds drifting away from the task at hand into a fog of memory and regret. We carry them to bed with us, where they lie beside us in the empty space, keeping us from sleep. We carry their ghost to the grocery store, remembering the food they liked. We carry them in our phones, rereading old texts, looking at old photos, a form of self-inflicted torment we mistake for. What? Due diligence, a search for clues, or just a habit of suffering? Like Aikido, we become blind to the world around us. A beautiful sunset unfolds, but we don't see it because we are rereading an old argument in our head. A friend tells a funny story, but we don't hear it because we are listening to the echo of a promise that was broken. Life is offering us 1,000 small moments of presence, of simple joy, of new beginnings, but we walk right past them, our arms full, our minds heavy, because we are still carrying the person we left at the river. We believe we are thinking about the past, but the truth is, we are sacrificing our present for it. We are choosing the weight of what is gone over the lightness of what is. Tanzen's final question is not a rebuke. It is a profound teaching, a key that can unlock the prison of our obsessive thoughts. The insight is this: the past has no power to hold you. You are the one who is holding it. The suffering doesn't come from the memory itself. It comes from your unconscious, continuous act of picking it up again, every single moment. Let's break this down. The event at the river carrying the woman was a temporary, physical act for Tanzen. It happened in a specific moment, in time to solve a specific problem. Once the problem was solved and the woman was on the other side, the event was over. He dropped the physical weight of the woman, and with it, he dropped the mental and emotional weight of the event. His mind was free, empty, available for the next moment, the walk, the forest, the sunset. For Aikido, the event never ended. He wasn't physically carrying the woman, but he picked up the concept of her, the idea of the transgression, and loaded it onto his mind. He carried this conceptual weight for hours, and it was far heavier than the actual woman. This is the nature of what psychologists call rumination. It's the mind getting stuck in a feedback loop, chewing on a problem long after the problem is over. This mental chewing feels like we're doing something important, like we're figuring it out. But we're not. We are simply strengthening the neural pathways of our own suffering. Every time we replay the painful memory, we are deepening the groove, making it easier for our mind to fall back into that same painful pattern tomorrow. The Buddha taught that the mind is like a wild monkey, always chattering, always swinging from one branch of thought to another. After a breakup, that monkey is obsessed with one particular branch. The teaching here is not to fight the monkey or to yell at it to stop. That only gives it more energy. The teaching is to simply notice with gentle awareness what the monkey is doing. Tanzen's question, "Are you still carrying her?" is a moment of pure mindfulness. It doesn't judge Aikido. It simply holds up a mirror to his mind. It invites him to see for the first time that he has a choice. The carrying is an active process, not a passive state. And if it is an action, it is an action that can be stopped. You can, in any given moment, choose to set it down. You don't have to solve the past. You don't have to understand it completely. You don't need an apology or a final conversation. You simply need to recognize what you are carrying. And with a gentle, compassionate intention, you can choose to leave it on the riverbank of this present moment. So, let me ask you the same question Tanzen asked Aikido. What are you still carrying? Right now, in this moment, what woman from the river is on your mind? Is it a specific conversation? A feeling of betrayal? The memory of a happy moment that now feels painful? Take a moment to name it silently to yourself. Acknowledge its weight. How heavy has it been? And for how long have you been carrying it, long after the river was crossed? What has this carrying cost you in terms of your peace, your presence, and your ability to see the beauty of the path you are on right now? Here is an invitation that requires nothing but your breath and your imagination. You can do this right now. Find a comfortable posture, and if you feel safe, allow your eyes to close. Bring to mind the thing you are carrying, that memory, that feeling, that recurring thought. Don't fight it. Just allow it to be there. Now, imagine you are holding it in your hands. Feel its texture, its temperature, its weight. Take a slow, deep breath in. As you breathe in, imagine you are gathering all your awareness and bringing it to this object in your hands. Now, as you breathe out, I want you to perform an action in your mind. I want you to open your hands and let it drop. Just let it fall. It might be heavy and fall with a thud. It might be light and drift away like a feather. It doesn't matter. Just perform the inner action of release. Breathe in, acknowledge the weight. Breathe out and let it go. Do this 3 times. Inhale and exhale, opening your hands. Inhale and exhale, setting it down. One last time, inhale and exhale, releasing your grip. The thought may come back in 10 seconds. That's okay. The monkey is persistent. The invitation isn't to get rid of it forever. The invitation is simply to experience, for one single breath, what it feels like to not be carrying it. If you try this, perhaps all you need to put in the comments is the word released. It's a quiet declaration to yourself and to others that for a moment you chose freedom. Tanzan walked away from the river with his robes muddy, but his mind clear. Aikido walked away with his robes clean, but his mind caked in mud. The deepest stains are not the ones on our clothes, but the ones we allow to settle in our mind. The past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. You can learn from it, you can honor the lessons it taught you, but you do not have to live there. The river has been crossed. The woman is gone. Your journey continues. Look around. The sun is setting. The path ahead is waiting. You can set it down now. You can always set it down. We have just practiced setting down the heavy burdens of the past, leaving the ghost of memory on the distant riverbank where it belongs. In that act of release, there can be a breath of fresh air, a moment of precious, newfound lightness. But if you listen closely in that new silence, you might hear a faint, persistent knocking sound. It's the sound of another vessel arriving in the harbor of your heart. And this one feels different. It isn't filled with the sadness of memory, but with the hot, burning coals of blame. It's the boat of injustice. And from its deck, a voice screams a question that can drown out all peace. How could they have done this to me? Let us transport ourselves to a place of immense stillness, a vast, mist-shrouded lake in the mountains of ancient China, at the liminal hour just before dawn. The world is painted in shades of charcoal gray and soft indigo. The water's surface is a mirror of polished obsidian, so perfect it holds the reflection of the last few stars. Without a tremor, the air itself feels ancient, cool and clean, carrying the scent of damp earth and pine needles. The only sound is a profound silence that seems to hum with latent energy. On this lake, a single man sits in a small, weathered wooden boat, a sampan. He is not a fisherman. He is a philosopher, a man named Lin. For years, Lin had sought to understand the nature of tranquility. He had read the scrolls, debated with scholars, but found that peace remained a concept, not an experience. So he began this ritual, rising before the sun to row to the center of this sacred lake, a place untouched by the noise of the world, to seek a peace that could be felt in the bones. He closes his eyes. He begins to meditate. He follows his breath, a gentle anchor in the vast stillness. The cool air enters, the slightly warmer air leaves. The boundary between his body and the world begins to blur. The gentle rocking of the boat becomes his own heartbeat. The vastness of the lake becomes the vastness of his own mind. Thoughts arise like small ripples, but he does not follow them. He lets them spread and dissolve back into the great calm. An hour passes. He has found it, a state of profound equanimity, a deep, resonant peace that feels unshakable. He feels connected to everything, disturbed by nothing. He is the lake. The lake is him. Thump. The collision is a violent violation. A hard, wooden shock travels up through the hull of his boat, through his seat, and jolts his entire body. His eyes fly open, his heart hammering against his ribs. The meditative state is not just broken, it is shattered. The perfect stillness is gone, replaced by a chaotic wave of adrenaline and raw indignation. His first thought is not a thought, it's a flash of fire. Anger, hot, pure, and immediate. His peace, so painstakingly cultivated, has been stolen by some careless fool. His jaw clenches. His fists tighten around the oars. He whips his head around, a torrent of furious words already forming on his lips. You clumsy oaf, you idiot. Is this entire lake, miles wide, not big enough for you to crash into the only other person here? Such thoughtlessness, such disrespect. He is ready to unleash a lecture on mindfulness, on courtesy, on the sacredness of another's solitude. He feels the absolute, unimpeachable righteousness of his rage. He is the victim. There is a perpetrator, and that perpetrator is about to receive the full force of his enlightened fury. He fixes his glare on the other boat, ready to lock eyes with the fool who has wronged him. And he sees nothing, no one. The boat that struck his is a simple, empty fisherman's skiff. A length of frayed rope trails from its bow, suggesting it broke free from its mooring somewhere up the shore. It has no captain, no passenger, no consciousness. It is just a piece of wood drifting silently, pushed by the invisible whims of the wind and the lake's slow, deep currents. It is an empty boat. Lin stares. The furious words die in his throat. The carefully constructed narrative of victim and perpetrator evaporates in the misty air. The target for his rage is gone, and in its absence, the rage itself, so potent and real just a moment ago, has nowhere to go. It is like a wave that rears up to crash against a cliff, only to find the cliff has vanished, leaving it to collapse back into the sea, its energy dissipating into a gentle swell. How can you remain angry at an empty boat? You can't. It is impossible. It has no malice, no intent, no carelessness. It is simply being what it is, an object in motion, subject to the laws of nature. The tension drains from Lin's body. His fists unclench. His jaw softens. He looks from the empty boat back to his own hands, which had been ready for conflict. He looks at his own mind, which had been a raging storm, and he begins to laugh. A soft, low chuckle at first, which then grows into a full, liberating laugh that echoes across the silent water. He wasn't disturbed by another boat. He was disturbed by his own expectation that there should be a person inside it to blame. The entire drama, the injustice, the anger, the righteous fury, was a play he had written, cast, and performed entirely within his own mind in the span of 3 seconds. The bump was a neutral event. The suffering was his own creation. He sits back down, closes his eyes, and a new, far deeper peace settles upon him. This peace is not the fragile peace of perfect conditions. It is the robust, resilient peace that comes from understanding the true source of his own storms. Is this not the story of every heartbreak? The relationship ends, the collision happens, and our immediate, powerful instinct is to find the person steering the other boat. We need a captain to blame for the crash. Our mind, in a desperate attempt to make sense of the chaos and pain, immediately casts our former partner in the role of the malicious, or, at the very least, criminally negligent boater. This story we create is incredibly seductive. It provides a simple, clear narrative. I was peacefully navigating the lake of my life, and they crashed into me. They ruined everything. This story gives our pain a direction, a target. And aiming our pain outward in the form of anger often feels far more empowering than sitting with the vulnerable, messy feelings of hurt, sadness, and loss. Anger is a shield. It feels hot, active, and strong. Sadness feels cold, passive, and weak. So we choose anger. We stoke its flames by meticulously collecting evidence for our case. We become the lead prosecutor in the trial of our ex-partner. We replay conversations, but now we hear them with a new, cynical filter, looking for clues of their betrayal. We analyze their actions, not with the loving eyes we once had, but with the skeptical eyes of a detective seeking proof of their guilt. We tell the story to our friends, framing it in a way that solidifies our role as the righteous victim and their role as the villain. You won't believe what they did after everything I did for them. Each time a friend agrees with us, our anger feels more validated, more justified, and the story becomes more entrenched as truth. The problem is, we are now tethered to this person by the strongest rope of all, resentment. We think we have pushed them away, but in reality, we have chained ourselves to their empty boat and are now trying to paddle forward while dragging it behind us. It is an exhausting, impossible task. Every ounce of our precious energy, mental, emotional, spiritual, is spent in this ongoing, imaginary battle. We are shouting at a ghost. We are demanding an apology from an empty vessel that has long since drifted out of sight, carried on by its own currents. We are sacrificing the beautiful, unfolding scenery of our present life because we are obsessed with the point of impact, endlessly reliving a collision that is, in reality, long over. The parable of the empty boat, first attributed to the Taoist sage Chuang Tzu, contains an insight so profound it can dismantle the entire architecture of our anger. It is not a call for us to be passive or to excuse harmful behavior. It is a radical invitation to reclaim our own power. The core insight is this: the external event is only the trigger. The emotional fire is your own. You are not angry because of what they did. You are angry because of the story you are telling yourself about what they did. Let's dissect the anatomy of our reaction. First, there is the raw event, the thump. A partner says, "I'm leaving." A promise is broken. A trust is betrayed. This is a neutral fact, a painful one, but a fact nonetheless. Second, our mind instantly creates a story to explain this fact. This is where the suffering begins. The story is usually a story of intention. They did this to me. They meant to hurt me. They were selfish. They were cruel. They knew what this would do, and they did it anyway. This story, this interpretation, is the fuel. Without it, the anger has nothing to burn. When Lin saw the boat was empty, his story of intention, "A careless person did this to me," was proven false. The fuel line to his anger was cut, and the fire went out instantly. The invitation of this parable is to learn to cut that fuel line ourselves, even when there is a person in the other boat. How? By embracing a deeper truth. Other people are almost always empty boats. This doesn't mean they are mindless robots. It means their actions are propelled by a vast, complex, and mostly invisible set of inner currents. These currents are their past traumas, their deepest fears, their unmet needs, their own level of self-awareness, or lack thereof, their own private pain. Their behavior is a reflection of their inner world, their struggles, their limitations. They are not acting in a vacuum with you as the sole focal point. They are living out the consequences of their own history. You just happen to be the person standing on the shore when their particular storm made landfall. To take their actions personally is the ultimate act of ego. It is to assume that their entire inner world revolves around you. The painful, liberating truth is that it doesn't. Their hurtful action was most likely not a calculated strike against you, but a clumsy, unconscious expression of their own inner chaos. When you can truly see this, you shift from being a victim to being an observer. You can look at the other boat and say, "Ah, I see. That boat is driven by a strong current of fear." Or that boat's rudder is broken by old wounds. Or that boat has no captain at the wheel right now. You see the behavior clearly, perhaps more clearly than ever, but it no longer feels like a personal attack. This clarity allows you to make calm, wise decisions. You can choose to paddle away. You can choose to build a harbor to protect yourself from such boats in the future. You can set firm boundaries, but you do it all from a place of peace and self-preservation, not from a place of corrosive, self-destructive rage. You unchain yourself from their vessel and are finally free to navigate your own course. I invite you to bring this into the quiet of your own heart. Think about the specific anger you feel. What is the one-sentence story that you repeat to yourself that makes it feel so justified? Is it, after all I sacrificed, this is how they repaid me? Is it, they were a coward and took the easy way out? Is it, they never truly loved me at all? Now, hold that story in your mind and ask yourself with genuine curiosity, what if it's not true? Not the event, but the story of intention behind it. What if their actions were not a measure of your worth, but simply a measure of their own capacity? What unseen currents might have been driving their boat? What would change? What would soften inside you if you could look back and see not a malicious captain, but just a drifting, empty boat? This invitation is a private ritual of release. It's a way to physically and symbolically separate the event from the story of blame. You will need a pen and a single piece of paper and a place where you won't be disturbed. Draw a simple line down the middle of the paper. On the left side, write the heading, the collision. On the right side, write the story. Under the collision, list only the bare, objective facts of what happened, as if you were a security camera recording the event. Use neutral, unemotional language. For example, on Tuesday, he said he was unhappy. She did not come home that night. I found the messages on the phone. Stick only to what happened. No feelings, no interpretations. Then on the right side, under the story, write down all the interpretations, judgments, and stories of intention you have layered on top of those facts. For example, he said he was unhappy because he never valued me. She didn't come home to punish me. The messages prove that our whole relationship was a lie. This is where you pour out the blame, the anger, the sense of injustice. Take your time. See how a few simple facts on the left can generate a massive, complex, and painful narrative on the right. Now, look at the list on the right. This is the source of your fire. This is the story you are telling yourself. The facts on the left are the past. The story on the right is what you are carrying into your present. When you are finished, take the paper and carefully tear it down the middle line you drew. Hold the list of the collision in one hand and the story in the other. Acknowledge the facts. They happened. But the story, you have a choice. Ceremonially, and with the intention of liberating yourself, destroy the story side of the paper. You can shred it into tiny pieces, bury it in the earth, or safely burn it and watch the smoke carry the narrative away. The list of facts you can keep or discard. It no longer has the same power without its story. This is a deeply personal act. If you undertake it, there is nothing you need to prove. But if you wish to acknowledge your own act of liberation, you might simply write in the comments, "I separated the story from the boat." It is a quiet testament to taking your power back. Lin, the philosopher, returned to the shore that day a changed man. He understood that you can't control the currents of the lake or the random drift of empty boats. You can only control the stories you tell yourself about them. His peace was no longer dependent on a silent, undisturbed lake. His peace had become the lake itself, vast enough to absorb any collision without losing its fundamental calm. The anger you feel is a signal. It is pointing not to the other person's guilt, but to a story in your own mind that is causing you to suffer. You can continue to scream at the empty boat, exhausting yourself and poisoning your own waters. Or you can take a breath, see it for what it is, and let it drift on by. The lake is vast. Your life is vast. There is so much more to see once you turn your gaze away from the point of collision and toward the open horizon. We have separated the story from the event. We have watched the empty boat of blame drift away, and in the quiet that follows, a new kind of space can open up in the mind. But into this space, another ghost often creeps. It is the ghost of the question, why? We stop asking, how could they? And we start asking, why did this have to happen? Become relentless judges, not of the other person, but of reality itself. We desperately try to sort the pieces of our shattered life into two neat piles, good and bad. This event, this breakup, it was bad. My life before, that was good. And this endless sorting, this relentless labeling, becomes its own form of prison. Let us journey now to a different landscape. Leave the misty lake and travel to a small, rugged village on the northern frontier of ancient China. The land here is harsh and windswept, a place of stark beauty, where life is dictated by the seasons and the unforgiving earth. In this village lived an old farmer. He wasn't a philosopher or a monk. He was a simple man, his face a roadmap of wrinkles carved by the sun and wind, his hands calloused from a lifetime of work. He lived with his only son in a small hut, and his most prized possession was a single, beautiful horse. It was a strong, spirited stallion, the envy of the entire village. One morning, the farmer woke to find the horse gone. The gate to its enclosure was swinging open. The horse had run off, vanished into the vast, wild grasslands beyond the frontier. Soon, the news spread through the village. The farmer's neighbors came to his hut to offer their condolences. They were good people, but their words were heavy with pity. "Oh, what terrible luck," they said, shaking their heads. "Your only horse gone. This is such a disaster. How will you plow your fields? How will you travel? This is a very bad thing." The old farmer listened patiently, his face calm and unreadable. He looked out at the vast, empty grasslands where his horse had disappeared. After a long silence, he simply said, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" The neighbors were baffled by his strange response. Clearly, this was bad luck. But they left, muttering amongst themselves about how the old man's grief must have unsettled his mind. A few weeks later, something incredible happened. The farmer's horse returned, and it wasn't alone. It had led a herd of wild, magnificent horses back from the grasslands. Suddenly, the old farmer, who had been poor, was the owner of a dozen horses. The news spread like wildfire. The same neighbors rushed back to his hut, their faces beaming with excitement. "What amazing luck," they exclaimed. "You lost one horse, and now you have 12. This is a miracle. You are a rich man now. This is such a wonderful, good thing." The old farmer stood amidst his new herd, stroking the neck of his original stallion. He listened to their congratulations, his expression as serene as it had been weeks before. He looked at the beautiful, wild animals, then back at his neighbors, and said, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" The villagers were once again confused. How could this not be good luck? The old man was truly eccentric. The following week, the farmer's only son, a strong and capable young man, was attempting to train one of the new wild horses. The horse, still untamed, reared up and threw him to the ground. The fall was bad. The young man's leg was broken, a severe, complex fracture. In a place with no skilled doctors, it was clear he would be lame for the rest of his life. The villagers gathered again, their faces a mask of sorrow and pity. They hobbled into his yard, shaking their heads. "Oh, what a terrible, terrible tragedy," they lamented. "Your only son, now crippled. This is a curse. These horses were not a blessing, they were a disaster. This is the worst thing that could have happened." The old farmer sat by his son's bedside, cleaning the wound. He listened to their dire pronouncements. He looked at his son's pained face, then at the concerned faces of his neighbors. And with the same unwavering calm, he said, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" Just a month later, the emperor's army marched into the village. A war had broken out with the northern barbarians, and they were conscripting every able-bodied young man to fight. It was a brutal, hopeless war, and everyone knew that the young men who were taken would almost certainly never return. The village was filled with the sounds of weeping as sons were torn from their families. But when the army officers came to the old farmer's hut and saw his son with his badly broken leg, they passed him by. He was of no use to them. And so, the farmer's son was spared. This simple, powerful story shines a light on one of the most persistent and painful habits of the human mind: the compulsive need to judge and label every event as either good or bad. After a breakup, we are masters of this. Our mind becomes a relentless courtroom, and we are the judge, jury, and executioner of our own experiences. The end of the relationship, bad. The time before the breakup, good. Being single, terrible. Being in a couple, wonderful. We create a stark, black and white map of our life, and we suffer because we believe we are stuck in the bad territory, desperately trying to get back to the good. This act of labeling feels natural, even necessary. It seems like a way to make sense of the world, to impose order on the chaos of our emotions. But it is a trap. When we label an event as bad, we create resistance to it. We are essentially saying, This should not be happening. We are declaring war on reality, and that is a war we can never win. The event has already happened. The breakup is a fact. By labeling it bad, we add a second layer of suffering on top of the initial pain. The first arrow is the event itself. The second arrow, which is far more painful, is the judgment we shoot into ourselves. We become trapped in a narrative. The bad event of the breakup becomes the central tragedy of our life story. We define ourselves by it. I'm the one who had that awful breakup. We interpret every subsequent event through that dark lens. A lonely evening isn't just a lonely evening. It's proof that the breakup was a disaster. A happy couple walking down the street isn't just a happy couple. They are a painful reminder of the good life we lost. Like the farmer's neighbors, we rush to judgment based on a tiny, incomplete snapshot of a much larger, unfolding story. We see the horse run away and immediately declare it a catastrophe. We see the horse's return and immediately declare it a miracle. We see the broken leg and immediately declare it a tragedy. We lack the farmer's profound wisdom, the humility to admit that we cannot see the whole picture. We are judging a single chapter of a book without knowing how the story ends. This constant, frantic labeling is exhausting. It keeps us locked in a cycle of elation and despair, tossed about by the waves of circumstance, completely at the mercy of what happens next. The farmer's calm refrain, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" is not a sign of apathy or detachment. It is an expression of the deepest wisdom in Taoist and Zen philosophy. It is the understanding that life is a vast, interconnected web of causes and effects, and our limited human perspective is utterly incapable of judging any single event as definitively good or bad. The universe does not operate in neat, linear stories. It operates in complex, unfolding patterns. What appears to be a disaster from one angle may be a necessary catalyst for a blessing from another. What seems like a blessing may contain the seed of a future challenge. The lost horse bad leads to a herd of horses good, which leads to a broken leg bad, which leads to being spared from a deadly war good. The chain of events is unbroken, and each link is inseparable from the one before and the one after. When we apply this to our own heartbreak, it is a revolutionary act. The breakup, which we have definitively labeled as bad, a disaster, the worst thing that ever happened to me, can be seen in a new light. We are invited to step back from our immediate emotional judgment and adopt a wider, more curious perspective. This is the psychological principle of decatastrophizing. Our anxious mind loves to fast forward to the worst possible outcome. The breakup happened, therefore I will be alone forever. Therefore I will be unhappy forever. The farmer's wisdom cuts this process short. It introduces a profound "I don't know" into the equation. The breakup happened. What will it lead to? Who knows? Perhaps the end of this relationship was necessary to save you from a future of deeper incompatibility and pain. Perhaps the profound loneliness you feel now is the very thing that will force you to build a stronger, more authentic relationship with yourself for the first time in your life. Perhaps the shattering of your old identity is the only thing that could have cleared the space for a more resilient, compassionate, and wise version of you to emerge. Perhaps the broken leg is the very thing that saves you from the war. We cannot know. The story is still being written. To label the breakup as purely bad is an act of profound arrogance against the mystery of life. It is to claim we know the ending of the book when we have only just finished a chapter. The farmer's peace does not come from having good things happen to him. His peace comes from his release from the addiction to judging. He is free because he is not tossed about by the changing tides of fortune. He is anchored in the deep, quiet understanding that he does not need to have an opinion on reality. He can simply experience it as it unfolds. This is not passivity. It is a state of active, open, and curious engagement with life, free from the heavy, burdensome lens of judgment. Let's sit with this for a moment. What are the definitive labels you have placed on your breakup? Take a moment to hear them in your own mind. This was a complete failure. I wasted 5 years of my life. This proves I'm unlovable. These are the judgments of the neighbors, well-intentioned perhaps, but based on an incomplete picture. What if you could, just for a moment, suspend that judgment? What if you could look at the event of the breakup and with the serene calm of the old farmer, whisper to yourself, good thing, bad thing, who knows? How does that feel in your body? Does it create even a small crack of space, a sliver of lightness in the heavy armor of your certainty? What hidden possibilities or future strengths might be contained within this event that you have labeled a disaster? Here is an invitation to practice the farmer's wisdom in a tangible way. This is an exercise in perspective designed to loosen the grip of judgment. You will need a journal or a piece of paper. Create 2 columns. At the top of the first column, write the worst case story. At the top of the second, write the who knows story. In the first column, let the anxious neighbor in your mind run wild. Write down the definitive, catastrophic story of your breakup. Start with because this relationship ended, and then list all the bad things that will now happen. I will be alone forever. I'll never trust anyone again. I've failed at the most important thing in life. My best years are behind me. Write down the full, tragic narrative that your pain is telling you. Then, take a deep breath. Move to the second column. Here, you will practice being the farmer. Start every sentence with the phrase, who knows, maybe, and explore alternative, non-catastrophic possibilities. This is not about toxic positivity or pretending everything is fine. It's about opening your mind to uncertainty. Who knows? Maybe this ending was necessary to protect me from a future that would have been even more painful. Who knows? Maybe this time of being alone is a rare gift to finally figure out what I truly want. Who knows? Maybe the pain I feel now is carving out a depth of compassion in me that will make my future relationships richer. Who knows? Maybe this broken leg will save me from a war I cannot yet see. Fill this column with possibilities. Let them be wild, hopeful, or just neutral. The goal is not to convince yourself that these new stories are true. The goal is to demonstrate to your own mind that your first catastrophic story is not the only story. It is to introduce the profound power of I don't know. When you have done this, the only thing you might consider sharing in the comments is the farmer's simple, powerful refrain. Who knows? It is a quiet signal that you are choosing curiosity over certainty and freedom over the prison of judgment. The wisdom of the old farmer is a quiet rebellion against our mind's frantic need for answers and labels. It teaches us that true serenity is not found in a life free of problems, but in a mind free of judgment. Life will bring runaway horses, unexpected herds, broken legs, and marching armies. These things are outside of our control. What is within our control is our response. We can rush to judgment like the neighbors, tossed on the waves of fortune and misfortune. Or we can cultivate the farmer's deep, unwavering calm, anchored in the humble and liberating wisdom that we never, ever see the whole picture. The story of your life is far grander, more complex, and more mysterious than this single chapter. Let it unfold. Who knows what beautiful things are being written for you in the pages yet to come? We have stood with the old farmer, learning to release our desperate need to label life's unfolding mystery as good or bad. We have practiced whispering, who knows, into the face of uncertainty. This can bring a profound sense of relief, a letting go of our war with reality. But as the external storms of judgment quiet down, we are often left alone in a new kind of silence. And in this silence, a deep and painful question can surface. Without that person, without that relationship, who am I? What is my worth? We have become so accustomed to seeing our own reflection in another's eyes that when those eyes are gone, we can feel as if we have disappeared. Let us leave the windswept grasslands and travel now to a bustling city in the heart of the ancient world. Imagine a marketplace at high noon. The sun is a brilliant white gold disk in a cloudless sky, pouring down a heat that shimmers above the cobblestones. The air is a symphony of chaos, the shouting of vendors selling spices and silks, the bleating of goats, the haggling of customers, the laughter of children chasing pigeons. It is a world saturated with light, with color, with life. And into this dazzling, sun-drenched scene walks a man who immediately draws the stares of everyone around him. He is a philosopher known in the city for his eccentric ways. But today, he is doing something particularly strange. In his right hand, held high for all to see, he is carrying a lantern. And the lantern is lit. A tiny, brave, flickering flame is burning inside it, casting a pale, pathetic little circle of yellow light on the sun-baked ground. He walks through the marketplace with a look of intense concentration, peering into the shadows of the stalls, looking behind barrels of olives, squinting into the faces of the crowds. He seems to be searching for something with the help of his ridiculous, unnecessary light. A merchant, wiping sweat from his brow, finally stops him. "Old man," he calls out, half amused, half annoyed. "What are you doing? Have you gone mad? It is the middle of the day. The sun is brighter than 1,000 of your lamps. Why on earth are you carrying a lit lantern?" The philosopher Diogenes stops. He lifts the lantern higher, as if to get a better look at the merchant's face. He gazes at him with a look of deep, sorrowful disappointment. "I am searching," Diogenes says, his voice ringing out above the market noise. "I am searching for an honest man." He then turns and continues his search, holding his small man-made light up against the overwhelming, glorious, and freely available light of the sun, as if he has completely forgotten the sun exists. This image, a man searching for light with a lamp in broad daylight, is a powerful, almost tragicomic portrait of the human condition after a breakup. We become Diogenes, the honest man we are so desperately searching for is our own sense of self, our own feeling of worthiness and wholeness, and the lantern we are carrying is the memory of our past relationship. For months or years, that relationship was our primary source of light. Our partner's love, their validation, their attention. It was the flame we used to navigate the world. It illuminated our path. It made us feel seen, warm, and secure. We got so used to its glow that we began to believe it was the only light. We relied on it. We oriented our entire life around it. When we felt dark or insecure, we turned to it for reassurance. Its presence confirmed our worth. Then suddenly, the lantern is extinguished. The relationship ends, and we are plunged into what feels like an absolute and terrifying darkness. We stumble around, feeling lost, invisible, and cold. The world, which once seemed bright and full of possibility, now feels menacing and empty. We are convinced that without that specific flame, we are doomed to live in shadow. So what do? We do something just as absurd as Diogenes. We desperately try to relight the old lantern, replaying happy memories, hoping to catch a flicker of that old warmth. Or we immediately start searching for a new lantern, a new person, a new distraction to light our way. We hold up our need for external validation like a tiny lamp, and we cry out to the world, Please, someone, give me some light. I can't see. I can't find myself in this darkness. And all the while, the great, powerful, magnificent sun is blazing down upon us. The sun is our own inherent worth, our own inner light, our own unshakable core self that exists independent of any person, job, or circumstance. It was there before the relationship. It was there during the relationship, though we may have forgotten it, entranced by our lantern. And it is right there now, in this very moment. But we have become so habituated to the small, contained, and conditional light of the lantern that we have forgotten the existence of the infinite, unconditional, and freely available light of the sun. We are searching for a candle in a sunbeam. We are looking for our worth in the reflection of others, forgetting that we are the source. The deep insight of this story is not just that we have our own inner light. Most of us have heard that phrase before. The insight is more subtle and more profound. We become so addicted to the focused, transactional light of a lantern that we develop a kind of spiritual amnesia, forgetting the ambient, all-encompassing light of the sun. It's a habit of perception. Let's explore the difference between lantern light and sunlight. Lantern light is conditional. It needs fuel, the other person's approval, attention, love. It can be extinguished by a sudden gust of wind, a fight, a betrayal, a breakup. It is small, it casts shadows, and it has to be carried and maintained. It creates a dynamic of dependency. Your sense of well-being is outsourced to the person holding the lantern. Their mood determines your brightness. Their presence determines your visibility. It's a precarious way to live. Sunlight is unconditional. It doesn't need you to be worthy of it. It doesn't need you to do anything to earn it. It shines on the saints and the sinners, the broken and the whole, the lonely and the loved. It is simply there. It is the fundamental nature of reality. Your inner sun, your core consciousness, your innate capacity for love, wisdom, and peace is the same. It is not something you have to acquire. It is something you have to remember. The process of a relationship, especially an all-consuming one, can be like living indoors for years. The house is lit by lamps. It's comfortable. It's familiar. Then, when the relationship ends, it's like being thrown out of the house. Our eyes, accustomed only to the dim, artificial light, are blinded by the sun. We think the world has ended, but we have actually just been returned to the real. The pain of a breakup, from this perspective, is not the pain of losing the light. It is the pain of our eyes readjusting to the overwhelming brightness of our own forgotten sun. It's the discomfort of remembering our own vastness after having made ourselves small to fit the confines of the lantern's glow. The spiritual and psychological journey of healing, then, is not about finding a new lantern. It is a process of dehabituating from the lantern and rehabituating to the sun. It is about deliberately turning your face away from the search for external validation and turning it towards the warmth that is already present within you. It is about trusting that you are not lost in the dark. You are standing in the middle of a sun-drenched field, and you just need to have the courage to put down the useless lantern and let your eyes adjust. Let's make this personal. What has been your lantern? What specific form of validation from your past relationship did you rely on to feel worthy or whole? Was it their praise, their physical affection, the sense of security they provided, the social status of being a couple? Be honest and gentle with yourself. Identify the specific flame you feel has been extinguished. Now, can you entertain the idea that this flame was not your true source of light, but merely a distraction from it? What would it mean if the great, warm sun of your own being has been shining this whole time, just waiting for you to notice? What might you see if you were willing to put down the lantern and look up? This invitation is a practice of sun gazing, but not with your physical eyes. It's an internal practice of remembering your own light. It takes only 5 minutes. Find a place where you can sit comfortably, preferably near a window where you can feel the warmth or see the light of the actual sun. If it's night or overcast, simply imagine the sun in your mind's eye. Close your eyes. Begin by taking 3 slow, deep breaths. Now, bring your attention to the center of your chest, the area of your heart. I want you to imagine that in this space, there is a small, warm, golden sun. At first, it might just be a tiny, faint spark, like the pilot light on a stove. That's okay. Don't force it. Just imagine it. With each inhale, imagine you are breathing soft, gentle energy into that spark. With each exhale, just let it be. Don't try to make it bigger. Just tend to it with your awareness. Inhale, bringing warmth to the spark. Exhale, resting in its presence. As you continue to breathe, you might notice the spark naturally begins to grow a little brighter, a little warmer. Imagine this golden light starting to fill your chest. It's not a harsh, glaring light. It's a soft, gentle, unconditionally loving light. It's the light of your own innate goodness, your own aliveness. Let this warm, golden light expand, filling your whole torso. Let it flow down into your legs and feet and up into your arms and hands. Let it fill your neck and head until your entire body is, in your imagination, a vessel of soft, warm, golden sunlight. Sit in this feeling for a few minutes. There is nothing to achieve. You are simply remembering. You are basking in the light that is you. This is your sun. It doesn't need anyone else to light it. It cannot be extinguished. It has been here all along. This is a practice of self-reclamation. After you've tried it, if you feel a shift, no matter how small, you might simply share in the comments, "I remembered my sun today." It is a beautiful affirmation of turning your attention back to your own inherent source. Diogenes never found his honest man with his lantern, because he was looking in the wrong way with the wrong tool. He was looking outside of himself in the shadows while ignoring the brilliant light that revealed all. Your worth is not in someone else's hands. It is not a flickering flame that can be blown out by the winds of change. It is the sun. It is the constant, radiant, life-giving force at the center of your own being. The end of a relationship does not extinguish your sun. It simply shatters the lampshade that was hiding its brilliance. You are not lost in the dark. You have been returned to the light. All you have to do is dare to open your eyes and see. We have practiced remembering our own sun, that vast, unconditional inner light that cannot be extinguished. We sit in its warmth, learning to trust our own radiance again after living by the flicker of another's lantern. And yet, even as we bask in this returning light, our hand can sometimes clench, seemingly of its own accord. It clenches around a familiar, painful object. We have let go of the need for their validation, but we may still be holding onto the anger for the pain they caused. This anger can feel like a last, stubborn piece of armor, a final testament to the injustice we endured. We believe it protects us, that it holds the other person accountable in the courtroom of our mind. We have put down the lantern, but we are still clutching a burning stone. This next story is not a narrative with characters and landscapes. It is a direct teaching, an image offered by the Buddha himself. It is less a story and more of a direct, unavoidable truth, a koan delivered in the form of a metaphor. Imagine you are walking through a field. You see someone who has hurt you deeply standing in the distance. You are filled with a surge of rage and a desire for justice. You want them to feel the pain that you feel. You look down, and on the ground, you see a glowing, red-hot coal pulsing with heat from a nearby fire. In your anger, you think, "This is perfect. I will pick up this coal and I will throw it at them. Then they will know what it feels like to be burned. Then they will understand the pain they have caused." It seems like a good plan, a direct path to vengeance. So you reach down. The moment your fingers touch the coal, an excruciating, searing pain shoots up your arm. Your skin sizzles. Your nerves scream in agony. But you are determined. Your focus is entirely on the person in the distance. You clench your jaw against the pain, wrap your fingers tighter around the burning ember, and you prepare to throw it. You hold it, you aim, you wait for the perfect moment, but every second you hold onto that coal, waiting to inflict pain on another, whose hand is being burned, whose flesh is being charred, whose body is being filled with the poison of that searing agony. It is yours, only yours. The person in the distance may or may not even notice you. They may or may not be hit by the coal if you throw it. They may or may not feel the pain you intend for them. That outcome is uncertain. But what is absolutely certain from the very first moment is your own suffering. You are the one who is guaranteed to be burned in this transaction. the plan to hurt another has become a direct and immediate act of self-harm. This powerful image of the hot coal is perhaps the most direct and honest metaphor for resentment and the desire for revenge that has ever been conceived. After a breakup where we feel wronged, we are all holding a hot coal. The anger, the bitterness, the replaying of their faults, the secret wishes for them to fail or be unhappy. These are the embers we clutch in our fist. We tell ourselves a story about why we are holding it. We believe it is a weapon. We think, if I stay angry, it means they don't get away with what they did. Or, my anger is a shield that will protect me from being hurt like this again. Or perhaps the most common story. I cannot let this go until they acknowledge what they did and apologize. So we hold on, believing our suffering is somehow keeping them accountable, that our clenched fist is exerting some kind of metaphysical pressure on them across time and space. We walk around with this burning coal hidden in our palm. We try to live our lives, to go to work, to meet friends, to find joy. But the coal is always there. Its heat radiates through our system, making us irritable and tense. It steals our energy. It poisons our new experiences. We might meet someone new and kind, but we can't fully open our hand to receive their kindness because it is already clenched around the burning ember of our past grievance. We are trying to build a new life with one hand, while the other is being actively consumed by fire. We become obsessed with the person we want to throw it at. We check their social media. We ask mutual friends about them. We are constantly monitoring them, waiting for the right moment to feel vindicated, the right moment to throw the coal. But as the Buddha's image so clearly shows, this is a profound delusion. The entire time we are waiting, watching, and planning, the only person suffering is us. Our obsession with their life is preventing us from living our own. Our desire for their pain is the direct cause of our own. We think we are punishing them, but we have simply sentenced ourselves to carrying a burning object. Day after day, the Buddha's teaching on the hot coal cuts through all our complex justifications for holding onto anger. The insight is devastatingly simple. Resentment is a poison you drink, hoping the other person will die. Forgiveness, in this context, has nothing to do with the other person. It is not about condoning their behavior or saying what they did was okay. It is not about reconciliation. It is the purely pragmatic, intelligent, and self-loving act of putting down the hot coal because it is burning you. Let's look at this from a physiological perspective. When you hold onto chronic anger and resentment, your body is in a constant state of fight or flight. Your nervous system is flooded with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate increases, your blood pressure rises, your immune system is suppressed. You are quite literally marinating your own cells in a cocktail of stress. This isn't a metaphor. Holding onto a grudge has real, measurable, and destructive consequences for your physical and mental health. You are holding a radioactive coal, and its toxicity is seeping into every part of your being. The letting go that Eastern philosophy speaks of is not a lofty moral command. It is a practical instruction for self-preservation. It is the recognition that you have a choice. The other person's actions are in the past. You cannot change them, but your reaction to those actions is happening right now in this present moment. And you can choose to stop reacting in a way that harms you. The moment you decide to drop the coal is the moment the burning stops. It is the moment you reclaim your own hand, your own energy, your own life. The relief is instantaneous. This is why forgiveness is described as a gift you give yourself. But how? How do you drop something you've been clenching for so long? It's not as simple as just deciding. The mind has created a deep habit. The first step is to become exquisitely aware that you are holding it, to feel its heat, to acknowledge without judgment the pain it is causing you. Not the pain they caused you, but the pain you are causing yourself now by continuing to hold it. You have to get tired of being burned. The next step is to shift your focus. As long as your focus is on the person you want to throw it at, you will keep holding it. You have to deliberately, consciously, turn your attention away from them and onto your own hand, your own heart, your own well-being. You have to care more about your own healing than you do about their punishment. This is a profound shift in priority. It is the moment you decide that your own peace is more valuable than your own grievance. You don't drop the coal for them. You drop it for you, because you deserve to have two free hands with which to build your new life. Because you are tired of the smell of smoke. Because you want to feel the coolness of the evening breeze on your skin again, without the searing heat of a grudge in your palm. I invite you now to be radically honest with yourself. What is the hot coal you are clutching? What specific grievance, what memory of injustice are you holding onto? Believing it is a weapon or a shield, feel its presence in your mind right now. What is the story you tell yourself that justifies holding onto it? I can't let go until. Until what? An apology you may never get. A cosmic justice that may never arrive in the way you envision. And now, feel its heat. What is it costing you right now to keep holding it? What joy is it preventing? What peace is it poisoning? What part of your own hand, your own heart, your own life is being burned by your grip? This is a physical invitation, a small ceremony of release that you can do in private. It is about using your body to teach your mind how to let go. Find a small, dense object you can hold in your hand, a stone, a small ball, even a tightly balladed up piece of paper. This object will represent your hot coal, your grievance. Sit down and close your eyes. Hold the object in your dominant hand and clench your fist around it as tightly as you can. Really squeeze it. Feel the tension in your fingers, your hand, your wrist, your forearm, even up into your shoulder and jaw. As you are squeezing, bring to mind the person or the event that your anger is directed at. Feel the familiar fire of the grievance. Let yourself feel the full force of the story. They did this. They were wrong. I am right to be angry. Squeeze the object with all that energy. Hold it for about seconds. Feel the discomfort. Feel the strain. This is the energy of carrying a grudge. This is what you have been doing to your own nervous system. Now, take a slow, deep breath in. And as you exhale, with a sound of release like a ha, I want you to completely and suddenly open your hand. Let the object drop into your lap or onto the floor in front of you. As soon as you let it go, immediately bring your full attention to your hand. Notice the sensations. You might feel a tingling, a warmth, a sense of blood rushing back into your fingers. You will feel a profound sense of release, of lightness, of freedom from the strain. Keep your eyes closed and rest in this new sensation of openness for a full minute. This feeling, this lightness, this release is the feeling of forgiveness. It is the feeling of choosing your own peace. Compare the feeling of the clenched fist to the feeling of the open hand. There is no comparison. One is a prison, the other is freedom. You can repeat this simple physical ritual anytime. You feel yourself clenching around the hot coal of your resentment. It is a powerful, somatic reminder of what is at stake. After you have practiced this, there is no need to share the details of your grievance, but you might honor your own act of self-liberation by simply writing in the comments, "I dropped the coal." It is a powerful declaration that you are choosing to heal your own hand. The Buddha's wisdom is practical, not punitive. He wasn't telling people they were wrong to be angry. He was showing them, with perfect clarity, the hidden self-harm within the anger itself. Holding onto anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. It is a futile and self-destructive act. The path to freedom is not through vengeance, but through release. Forgiveness is not a weakness. It is the ultimate act of strength and self-love. It is looking at the burning coal in your hand and loving yourself enough to put it down, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Your hand was made for better things, to create, to comfort, to build, to hold the hands of those who will cherish you. It was not made to be a vessel for burning coals. You can let it go now. We have practiced dropping the hot coal of resentment. With an open, unburned hand, there is a new sense of freedom, a profound release. We have let go of the past. We have stopped judging the present. We have remembered our own inner sun. We have done so much work. And yet, after all this, a subtle, powerful anxiety can still remain. It is the fear of the future and the lingering trauma of the past. We may no longer be actively carrying the pain, but we are still scanning the horizon for new threats, unable to fully rest in the peace we have so painstakingly cultivated. We are caught between the tiger of yesterday's trauma and the tiger of tomorrow's uncertainty. We are hanging, suspended, in a state of perpetual anxiety. Let us go now to a place of ultimate peril. Imagine a monk, not a serene master in a quiet temple, but a man running for his life. He is sprinting through a forest, his breath coming in ragged gasps, his heart a frantic drum against his ribs. He is being chased by a massive, hungry tiger. Its roars echo through the trees, each one a promise of a violent end, getting closer and closer. The monk is running on pure adrenaline, the fear of being torn apart propelling him forward. He breaks through the tree line and finds himself at the edge of a great precipice. A sheer cliff drops hundreds of feet to a rocky chasm below. There is nowhere to go. He is trapped. The tiger's roars are right behind him now, shaking the very ground he stands on. In a desperate, last-ditch effort to survive, he spots a thick vine growing over the edge of the cliff. He grabs it, swings himself over the edge, and begins to scramble down, his hands and feet finding precarious holds in the rock face. He lowers himself down, the tiger snarling and clawing at the cliff edge just above him. He breathes a momentary sigh of relief. But then he looks down, and his heart freezes. At the bottom of the cliff, looking up at him with hungry, gleaming eyes, is another tiger. He is utterly, completely trapped. Above him, a tiger of the past, the one that has been chasing him, ready to devour him if he climbs up. Below him, a tiger of the future, the one that is waiting to kill him if he slips and falls. He is hanging by a thin vine, suspended between a terrifying past and a fatal future. His life, he realizes, is now measured in moments. As he hangs there, his muscles screaming in protest, his mind reeling with the hopelessness of his situation. Two small mice, one white, one black, appear from a crevice in the cliff face. They scurry onto the vine just above his hands, and they begin to gnaw on it. The white mouse and the black mouse, day and night. Time itself is eating away at the only thing keeping him alive. The vine begins to fray. His situation has just gone from hopeless to terminal. This is the end. There is no escape. The past will get him. The future will get him. Or time will simply run out. In this moment of absolute, ultimate despair, as he hangs between two certain deaths while time itself conspires to end him, he notices something. Growing from a tiny ledge on the cliff face, just inches from his nose, is a single wild strawberry plant. And on that plant is one perfect, ripe, wild strawberry. It is a deep, luscious red, glistening with dew, shining like a tiny jewel against the gray rock. The monk looks up at the snarling tiger, looks down at the waiting tiger. He looks at the mice, methodically chewing through the threads of his life. And he looks at the strawberry. With his free hand, he reaches out with infinite care. He plucks the strawberry from its stem. He brings it to his nose and inhales its sweet, wild fragrance. He puts it in his mouth. And as the sweet, tangy, explosive flavor of the strawberry floods his senses, he thinks to himself, "This is the most delicious strawberry I have ever tasted." This story is not about being chased by literal tigers. It is a perfect, terrifyingly accurate parable for the human condition, especially when we are living in the aftermath of trauma. The tiger behind us is our past. It is the breakup, the pain, the rejection, the memories that we feel are constantly chasing us, threatening to devour us if we stop running. The tiger below us is our future. It is the fear of loneliness, the anxiety about what comes next, the dread of being hurt again, the uncertainty of a life we never planned. And so we hang, suspended, on the thin vine of the present moment. We feel trapped between the what-ifs of yesterday and the what-ifs of tomorrow. Our mind is so consumed by the two tigers that we barely notice where we are. We are living in a state of perpetual, low-grade or high-grade anxiety. We are not truly living, we are just not dying. We are surviving. And then there are the two mice, the white mouse of the day and the black mouse of the night. Time, relentlessly, impartially, it gnaws away at the vine of our life. Every passing moment, every sunrise and sunset is one less moment we have. We feel this viscerally. We feel that time is running out, that we are wasting our lives being stuck in this painful, in-between state. This adds another layer of panic to our predicament. We are not only trapped by our past and future, but we are also trapped in a race against time. This is the psychological state of post-traumatic stress. The nervous system is locked in a state of hypervigilance. It is constantly scanning for the tiger above and the tiger below. The body is tense, the mind is racing. We lose the ability to rest, to be at ease, to simply enjoy the moment we are in. Our entire existence becomes about managing the two threats. We think that happiness or peace can only be found if one of the tigers goes away. I'll be happy when I'm finally over my past. I'll be able to relax when I finally know my future is secure. We make our peace conditional on the tigers disappearing. But the story points to a radical, terrifying, and ultimately liberating truth. The tigers may never go away. The past will always be the past. The future will always be uncertain. And time will always be passing. So, if peace is dependent on getting rid of the tigers, we will never, ever be at peace. The monk's final action is the climax of the entire spiritual journey. It is the ultimate expression of enlightenment in the face of annihilation. The insight is the most profound in all of Zen. True liberation is not found by escaping the tigers, but by finding the strawberry that exists right now, right here, in the midst of them. Let's analyze the monk's state of mind. He has reached a point of complete and total acceptance. He is not in denial about the tigers. He sees them with perfect clarity. He is not in denial about the mice. He knows his time is limited. He has abandoned all hope of escape, and it is this very abandonment of hope for a different future that allows him to fully arrive in the present. As long as he was hoping to escape, his mind would have been frantically searching for a way out. He would have been so consumed by how do I get away from the top tiger? And how do I avoid the bottom tiger? That he would never have even seen the strawberry. His salvation was not in finding an escape route, but in giving up the search for one. This is the great paradox of presence. The more we fight with reality, the more we struggle against what is, the more trapped we become. The moment we surrender to what is, not with passive resignation, but with active, courageous acceptance, we become free. The monk accepted his reality. I am on a cliff. There is a tiger above me, a tiger below me, and mice are eating my rope. By fully accepting the horror of his situation, his mind became calm. And in that calmness, he was able to perceive something new. The strawberry. The strawberry represents the sensory reality of the present moment. It is the taste, the smell, the sight, the touch of what is right here, right now. It is the sweetness of life that is always available to us, but which we are usually too distracted by our mental tigers to notice. It could be the warmth of the sun on our skin, the taste of a cup of coffee, the sound of a bird singing outside our window, the feeling of our own breath moving in and out of our body. The monk's eating of the strawberry is the ultimate act of mindfulness. He gives it his full attention. He is not thinking about the tigers as he eats it. He is not lamenting his fate. He is one with the experience of the strawberry. And because his attention is percent on it, he experiences it with an intensity and richness that is unimaginable to a distracted mind. He experiences the fullness of life in a single, perfect moment, precisely because he knows it may be his last. This story teaches us that the point of life is not to arrive at a safe, tiger-free destination. The point of life is to learn to taste the strawberries that grow on the cliff face of our perilous existence. Peace is not a future destination. Peace is a present moment capability. It is the ability to withdraw our attention from the tigers of our mind, the past and future, and place it fully on the sensory reality of right now. Let's bring this into your own life. What are your two tigers? Take a moment to name them. What specific fear from your past is chasing you? And what specific anxiety about your future is waiting for you below? Feel the tension of being suspended between them. Acknowledge the mice, the feeling that time is slipping away. Now, in this exact moment, as you are hanging here, what is your strawberry? Look around you right now. What is one small, simple, sensory detail you can notice? Is it the color of the light in your room, the feeling of the chair supporting your body, a distant sound, the taste lingering in your mouth. Can you allow yourself, just for 1 second, to forget the tigers and give your full, undivided attention to that one small detail? What would it be like to experience that one sensation as if it were the most important thing in the universe, just for a moment? This invitation is a practice of tasting the strawberry. It is a way to train your attention to find the sweetness in the present moment, no matter what tigers are roaring in your mind. Sometime today, I invite you to choose one, and only one, ordinary daily activity. It could be drinking a cup of tea, eating a piece of fruit, washing your hands, or walking from one room to another. For the duration of that single activity, your goal is to become the monk eating the strawberry. You will give it your absolute, undivided attention. Let's use the example of eating an apple. Before you take the first bite, look at the apple. Really see it. Notice the colors, the shape, the texture of the skin, the way the light reflects off of it. Then bring it to your nose and smell it. Inhale its fragrance. Now take the first bite. And as you chew, close your eyes and bring your full attention to the sensations in your mouth. Notice the explosion of flavor, the sweetness, the tartness. Notice the texture, the crunch of the skin, the soft flesh. Notice the sound of the chewing inside your head. Chew slowly. Follow the sensations all the way down. Do this for the entire apple. If your mind wanders to the tigers of your past or future, and it will gently and without judgment just guide it back to the sensory experience of the apple, the taste, the crunch, the smell. You will be amazed. An ordinary apple, eaten with this level of presence, can become the most delicious apple you have ever tasted. You are training your brain, cell by cell, that it is possible to experience joy and presence even while the tigers are still on the prowl. You are cultivating the skill of finding the strawberry. This is a private practice of rediscovering the magic of the ordinary. After you have tried this with an activity of your choice, you might simply share in the comments, "I found a strawberry today." It's a beautiful, coded message that you chose presence over panic, even just for a moment. The fate of the monk is unknown. The story ends the moment he tastes the strawberry. And that is the entire point. Whether the vine broke, or the tigers left, or he was rescued, is completely irrelevant. Because in that one perfect, mindful moment, he had already found liberation. He had experienced the fullness of life. He had won. We spend our lives trying to engineer a future where we will finally be safe enough to be happy. The monk teaches us a more profound way. Find the happiness, the peace, the sweetness that is available right now in this moment, regardless of your circumstances. Your life is not a dress rehearsal for some future, tiger-free performance. This is it. The tigers are here. mice are chewing. And on the cliff face of this very moment, there is always a strawberry growing. Your only task is to reach out and taste it. We have stood with the monk on the cliff edge. We have learned, in the face of our greatest fears, to find and savor the perfect strawberry of the present moment. This is a profound turning point, a shift from surviving to truly living. But after the adrenaline fades, after the tigers retreat to a manageable distance, we are often left in a new and unfamiliar landscape. It is a landscape of quiet, of stillness. And in this stillness, a new kind of challenge arises. It is the echo of the life that was, the phantom sensation of the other, who is no longer there. We have dropped the anger, released the judgment, and found the present moment. But now we are confronted with the vast, silent space of our own solitude. And this silence can feel deafening. Let us journey to a Zen monastery in the mountains of Japan. Imagine a young, ambitious monk named Yoshio. He is not just a casual student. He is brilliant, dedicated, and fiercely determined to attain enlightenment. He has mastered the sutras. He can sit in meditation for longer than anyone else. And he can eloquently debate the most complex points of doctrine. He has accomplished everything a young monk could hope to accomplish. He is, in his own mind, ready for the final test. He presents himself to his master, an old, wizened roshi with eyes that seem to hold both immense wisdom and a subtle, playful twinkle. The master was known for his unorthodox teaching methods and his use of koans, paradoxical riddles designed to shatter the logical mind and provoke a direct experience of truth. "Master," Yoshio says, bowing low with a confidence that bordered on pride, "I have studied for years. I have meditated diligently. I believe I am ready. Please give me a koan to solve so that I may demonstrate my understanding and attain kensho, the first glimpse of enlightenment." The master looks at the eager young monk for a long moment. He takes a slow sip of his tea. Then he says, "Very well, Yoshio. You have heard the sound of 2 hands clapping, yes?" Yoshio nods. "Of course, master." He claps his own hands together to demonstrate. Clap. It is the sound of 2 hands coming together. The master smiles faintly. "Good. Your koan is this," he says, his voice quiet but firm. "Show me the sound of 1 hand." Yoshio is thrilled. It seems like a profound, classic Zen question. He bows, his mind already racing, and retreats to his small meditation cell to solve it. This, he thinks, is the final gate. He begins his work. First, he approaches it logically. The sound of 1 hand, it's a paradox. It must be silence. The answer is silence. He rushes back to the master, presents his answer with a confident flourish. Master listens, then without a word, picks up a small stick and gives Yoshio a sharp whack on the shoulders. "No," he says simply, "go back." Yoshio is stunned and humbled. He returns to his cell. It's It's not a logic puzzle. It must be something experiential. He sits in meditation and listens. He listens to the wind in the pine trees. Swoosh. Perhaps that is the sound of one hand, the hand of nature, he thinks. He presents this to the master. Another whack. No, go back. He tries everything. He thinks of the sound of a waterfall, the cry of a cicada, the hum of his own blood in his ears. Each time he presents a new sound, a new concept, a new poetic idea, he is met with the same response. A sharp, painful whack and the simple instruction, no, go back. Weeks turn into months. Months turn into a year. Yoshio's ambition begins to curdle into a desperate, gnawing frustration. He has heard every sound in the monastery and the surrounding forest. He has read every scroll in the library, looking for a clue. The koan has become a torment, a wall of black iron he cannot break through. His pride is gone, replaced by a deep sense of failure. He becomes withdrawn. He stops eating. He cannot sleep. His brilliant mind, which had always been his greatest asset, is now his greatest enemy. It churns and churns, producing endless answers, all of them wrong. One night, in a state of utter exhaustion and despair, he gives up. He sits in his cell, not to solve the koan, but simply because he has no energy left to do anything else. His mind is empty of theories. His ambition is a pile of ash. He is not trying to attain anything. He is simply a failure, sitting in the dark. He expects nothing. He wants nothing. And in that profound state of wanting nothing, of being nothing, of complete and total surrender, he hears it. The next day, a different Yoshio approaches the master. He is thin, his eyes are hollow, but the frantic, ambitious energy is gone. He is quiet. He bows low. The master looks at him and says, "Well, have you heard the sound of one hand?" Yoshio looks at his master, and without saying a word, he simply lifts his right hand. The master's eyes widen. A slow, genuine smile spreads across his face, and he nods. After the drama of a breakup, after we have navigated the tigers and the hot coals, we enter the monk's cell phase of our healing. It is the period of solitude. And in this solitude, we are confronted with our own version of this koan. The relationship was the sound of two hands clapping. It was a dynamic of call and response, action and reaction. The sound of our life was co-created. Our identity, our routines, our sense of self were all part of this duet. Clap, clap, clap. It was a familiar, often comforting rhythm. Then one hand is withdrawn, and we are left with what? We are left with the sound of one hand. And at first, this sound can feel like a terrifying silence, an absence, a lack. Our mind, like Yoshio's, immediately tries to solve the problem of being alone. First, we approach it logically. I'm alone, so I need to find another hand to clap with. We frantically jump on dating apps. We rush into new social situations. We try to fill the silence with the noise of another person. We are searching for a new sound of two hands, believing that is the only way to feel whole. Like Yoshio's first answer, this is a conceptual solution, and it rarely works because we haven't understood the question. Then we try other things. We might try to fill the silence with the sound of nature, work, hobbies, travel, endless distractions. We try to create enough noise so that we don't have to hear the profound, underlying silence of our own solitude. We are presenting the master with the sound of the wind, the waterfall, the busyness of our lives. But the core feeling of lack remains. The koan is not solved. This period can be one of deep frustration. We feel like we are failing at being single. We see other people's two-hand clapping lives on social media and feel a pang of inadequacy. We believe that wholeness is something that happens out there through connection with another. We are still looking for an external answer to an internal question. Like Yoshio, our ambition to be healed or to be happy again becomes the very obstacle that prevents us from finding peace. The koan of the sound of one hand is not a question to be answered with words. It is a state to be realized. The profound insight it points to is this: wholeness is not the reunion of two halves. Wholeness is the realization that you were never a half to begin with. The sound of one hand is not silence. It is the subtle, ever-present, self-sufficient hum of your own being. Yoshio's journey is the key. He had to go through a process of complete and utter failure. His brilliant, logical mind had to be exhausted. His ego, his pride, his ambition to attain something had to be burned away. He had to reach a point of total surrender. It was only when he stopped trying to hear something, when he stopped searching for an answer outside of himself, that he could finally perceive what was already there. What did he hear in that moment of surrender? He didn't hear a sound in the conventional sense. He became the sound. He experienced the fundamental, self-existing reality of his own presence, independent of any external object or person. The sound of one hand is the sound of pure awareness. It is the sound of you being you, without needing anything else to validate or complete you. It is not a sound that comes to your ears. It is the listening itself. When he returned to the master, he didn't offer a new theory. He simply raised his hand. This was not a gesture of defeat. It was a gesture of profound realization. It meant, here it is, this, my own existence. This is the sound. It doesn't need another hand to be complete. It is, in and of itself, the entire universe. Applying this to our solitude after a breakup is a radical shift. We are invited to stop treating our solitude as a problem to be solved. We are invited to stop seeing it as a lack or an emptiness. Instead, we can begin to approach it as a sacred space, a monk's cell, a rare and precious opportunity. An opportunity to finally stop listening for the clap of another hand and to begin attuning ourselves to the subtle, powerful, and complete sound of our own. This sound is the feeling of your own breath, the rhythm of your own heart, the flow of your own thoughts and feelings when they are not being influenced by another. It is the discovery of your own preferences, your own rhythms, your own deep and quiet truths. It is the process of unbecoming who you were with them in order to become who you are with yourself. This is not a state of lack. It is a state of profound fullness, a coming home. But like Yoshio, we often have to exhaust all our frantic attempts to escape the silence before we can finally relax into its deep, resonant hum. Let's sit in your own quiet monk's cell for a moment. What does the sound of one hand feel like to you right now? Does it feel like a painful silence, an uncomfortable emptiness, a void that you are desperate to fill? Be honest about your relationship with solitude. Do you see it as a problem to be solved? What answers have you been trying to present to the master? A new relationship, a busier schedule, more distractions. And what if, just for a moment, you could stop trying to solve it? What if you could see this time not as a failure, but as a sacred and necessary part of your journey? What might you begin to hear in the silence if you finally stopped trying to fill it? This invitation is a practice in listening for the sound of one hand. It is not about meditation in the formal sense, but about attuning your awareness to the background hum of your own being. Find a time when you can be completely alone and in silence for at least minutes. It's important that this is intentional time, not just the accidental silence between other activities. Turn off your phone, your computer, any source of external noise. Sit comfortably in a chair. You don't need to sit on the floor or adopt a special posture. Just be comfortable. Close your eyes. Your task is not to do anything. Your task is to listen. But you are not listening for a specific sound. You are simply opening your awareness to the entire soundscape of your own existence. Start by listening to the most distant sounds you can perceive: a car outside, the hum of the refrigerator. Then bring your listening closer. Listen to the sounds within the room, the creak of the house, the whisper of the ventilation. Now, bring your listening even closer. Listen to the sounds of your own body. Can you hear the sound of your own breathing? It might be very quiet. Can you feel the rhythm of your heart, even if you can't hear it? Can you sense the subtle hum of your own nervous system? Finally, let go of listening for any sound at all. Simply rest in the state of listening itself. Rest in the awareness that is you. This awareness is silent, yet it is the source of all experience. It is the sound of one hand. It is complete. It is whole. It needs nothing. Do not be discouraged if your mind is noisy. That's part of the soundscape too. Just listen to the thoughts without judgment, as if they were passing cars. The goal is not to achieve a perfect silence. The goal is to become intimate with the fullness of your own solitary presence. This is a deep dive into the heart of solitude. There's nothing to report, nothing to achieve. But if this practice offers you a new perspective on being alone, you might simply share in the comments, "Today, I listened." It's a quiet acknowledgement that you are learning to find music in the sound of one hand. Yashio's journey teaches us that the answers we seek are rarely found where we are looking. He looked for the solution in logic, in nature, in poetry, in every external source he could find. But the answer was in the one place he had overlooked, his own simple, unadorned presence. Solitude after a breakup can feel like a punishment or a failure. But this koan invites us to see it as a graduation. You have graduated from the kindergarten of two hands clapping and have been admitted to the university of the sound of one hand. It is a more challenging curriculum, but its rewards are infinitely greater. It is the path to an unshakable wholeness, a peace that cannot be given to you by another, and therefore can never be taken away. The silence is not empty. It is pregnant with the sound of you finally coming home to yourself. We have sat in the deep, resonant silence of our own being. We have practiced listening for the sound of one hand, discovering a wholeness that does not depend on another. This is a profound homecoming, but after arriving home, after walking through the quiet rooms of our own heart and realizing we are enough, we may look out the window and see the garden. It is the garden of our mind, and during the long, stormy season of our heartbreak, it has been neglected. Weeds have grown rampant, the weeds of habitual negative thinking, of cynical beliefs, of fear. The soil is packed and hard. We have found our home, but now begins the gentle, patient work of tending the grounds so that new life can grow. Let us imagine a man who inherits a small plot of land. For years, this land had been part of a vast estate managed by someone else. The man had lived on it, but he had never truly been responsible for it. The other person decided what to plant, when to water, how to arrange the paths. And then, one day, the estate is divided, and this small plot of land is now entirely his. At first, he feels a sense of shock and loss. Land, which once felt so vibrant as part of the larger whole, now seems small, empty, and desolate. He walks its perimeter and sees that, in the turmoil of the transition, the garden has fallen into disarray. Thorny bushes of resentment have grown thick and tangled in one corner, choking out the sunlight. Patches of cynical nightshade, which whispers that nothing good will ever grow here again, have taken root near the gate. The ground is littered with the dead leaves of old memories, and the soil has become hard and compacted with the heavy footsteps of grief. The man's first instinct is despair. He looks at the mess and thinks, "This is impossible. it will never be beautiful again. It is ruined. For a while, he does nothing. He sits on his porch and just stares at the overgrown chaos, feeling overwhelmed and hopeless. He remembers how the garden used to look, and the memory is a constant, painful companion. But after a season of mourning, something inside him shifts. He realizes that staring at the weeds will not make them disappear. He understands that this land, in all its chaotic disarray, is now his. It is his home, his responsibility, and his opportunity. So one morning, he picks up a pair of shears. He doesn't try to clear the whole garden at once. The task is too daunting. He chooses one small corner, the patch where the thorny bushes of resentment are thickest, and he begins to work. It is slow, difficult, and painful. He gets scratched by the thorns. His muscles ache, but with each snip, with each thorny branch he pulls out by the root and casts aside, a tiny patch of sunlight hits the soil for the first time in years. He doesn't curse the thorns. He understands they grew because the conditions were right for them, the shade of neglect, the water of his own tears. He simply sees them for what they are, plants that do not belong in the garden he wishes to cultivate, and he removes them patiently and methodically. After he has cleared a small patch, he doesn't leave it bare. He knows that if he does, the weeds will simply return. So he takes a spade and begins to turn the soil. He breaks up the hard, compacted earth of his grief, aerating it, making it soft and receptive again. He pulls out the stones of old, hard beliefs. It is strenuous work, but as he works, he feels the land and himself beginning to breathe again. Then comes the most important part. He goes to the market and buys a small packet of seeds. He chooses them with care, seeds for flowers he has always loved, but never had the space to plant. Hardy perennials of self-compassion, vibrant annuals of curiosity, and fragrant herbs of gratitude. He returns to his newly prepared patch of soil, kneels down, and with a sense of quiet intention, he plants these new seeds. He knows they will not bloom overnight. He knows he must water them, protect them from pests, and continue to pull up any new weeds that sprout. But for the first time, he is not just cleaning up the past. He is actively, consciously, and hopefully planting a future. He is no longer a passive resident of a garden managed by another. He is the gardener of his own mind, the cultivator of his own peace. This parable of the garden is a perfect metaphor for the stage of healing that comes after acceptance. The plot of land is your own mind, your own inner world. The other person who managed it was your relationship. So much of our mental and emotional landscape can become defined by our partner. Their preferences, their moods, their beliefs create the weather patterns in our inner world. We get used to this ecosystem. When the relationship ends, we are left with this plot of land, and we are shocked to see its true state. We see the weeds that have grown in the shadows, The weeds of negative self-talk. I'm not good enough. I'll always be alone. The weeds of cynical beliefs about love. All relationships end in pain. You can't trust anyone. The weeds of fear. I can't risk being hurt like that again. These are not just random thoughts. They are habitual neural pathways, mental patterns that have been reinforced over and over during the painful period of the breakup. Like the man in the story, our first reaction is often to be overwhelmed. We look at the sheer volume of our negative thinking and feel hopeless. It seems like too much work to change. We get stuck in a state of just staring at the weeds, which, of course, only helps them grow stronger. We get lost in weed watching, identifying with our negative thoughts and believing that this overgrown, chaotic state is our permanent reality. I'm just an anxious person. I'm just not a positive thinker. We mistake the state of the garden for the nature of the soil itself. We believe that healing is simply the absence of pain, the removal of the weeds. But this is only half the process. A cleared patch of land left untended will quickly be overgrown again by the most aggressive, opportunistic weeds. True, lasting healing and growth require a second step: conscious cultivation. We must not only uproot what we don't want, we must actively plant what we do want. The story of the gardener provides a beautiful, tangible framework for understanding the principles of neuroplasticity and mindful cultivation. The core insight is this: your mind is not a fixed entity, it is a garden. And with patient, conscious effort, you can pull the weeds of harmful patterns and plant the seeds of beneficial ones. You are the gardener, and you have the power to shape your inner landscape. Let's break down the gardener's process. Acceptance, not judgment. The gardener doesn't curse the thorns. He understands they grew because the conditions were right for them. This is crucial. When we notice a negative thought pattern, our tendency is to judge ourselves for it. Ugh, there I go again, being so negative. This self-judgment is like pouring fertilizer on the weed. The mindful approach is to simply see the thought without judgment. Ah, there is the thought of fear. I see it. You acknowledge it as a weed, a pattern that no longer serves you, without identifying with it or shaming yourself for its presence. Patient uprooting, mindful deconstruction. The gardener doesn't try to clear the whole field at once. He starts with one small patch. This is the practice of choosing one specific, recurring negative thought to work on. Perhaps it's the thought, I'll never find someone else. Instead of letting this thought run on a loop, you gently uproot it each time it appears. You can do this by questioning its absolute truth. Is it % certain I will be alone forever? By recognizing it as a product of past pain rather than a predictor of the future, or by simply labeling it, thinking, and letting it go. Each time you refuse to engage with the thought, you are weakening its root system. You are cutting off its supply of water and sun, your attention. Preparing the soil, creating receptivity. The gardener breaks up the hard, compacted earth. This is the work of creating new space and softness in the mind. Practices like meditation, deep breathing, or spending time in nature help to soften the rigid structures of our thinking. They aerate the soil of our consciousness, making it more receptive to new ideas and new ways of being. A mind that is constantly stressed and contracted cannot receive new seeds. A mind that is relaxed and open can. Conscious planting, cultivating positive intentions. This is the most vital and often neglected step. After you have created some space by uprooting a negative pattern, you must intentionally plant something new in its place. This is the practice of active cultivation. If you have uprooted the weed of self-criticism, you must plant the seed of self-compassion. This can be done through affirmations, but more powerfully through actions. It might mean consciously listing 3 things you did well at the end of the day. If you have uprooted the weed of cynicism about the future, you must plant the seeds of curiosity and hope, perhaps by starting a new hobby or planning a small trip, an act that sends a message of forward-looking energy to your brain. This is the essence of creating new neural pathways. The old, weedy path is well-worn and easy for the mind to follow. By consciously choosing a new thought, a new behavior, you are beginning to blaze a new trail. At first, it's difficult, but every time you choose the new path, you tread it down a little more, making it easier to follow the next time. Eventually, the new path becomes the default, and the old, weedy path becomes overgrown from disuse. You are, quite literally, relandscaping your mind. Let's walk through your own garden for a moment. What is the most prominent weed growing there right now? What is the one recurring negative thought or belief that is choking out your sunlight? Take a moment to identify it clearly. Now, instead of judging it, can you look at it with the neutral eyes of the gardener? Can you see it not as a personal failing, but simply as a plant that has grown in neglected soil? And what seeds are you longing to plant? If you could cultivate any quality in your inner world right now, what would it be? Peace, self-trust, joy, creativity. What would your ideal garden look and feel like? This invitation is a practical exercise in conscious cultivation. It's a way to move from simply noticing the weeds to actively planting the flowers. You will need a journal or a notebook, which from now on you can think of as your gardener's log. Divide a page into 2 columns. On the left, title it Weeds to Uproot. On the right, title it Seeds to Plant. In the Weeds column, identify to specific, recurring negative thought patterns that you are ready to work on. Be precise. Instead of negativity, write the actual thought. The thought that I am not interesting on my own, or the belief that my best days are behind me. Now, for each weed you've listed, go to the seeds column and write down its opposite, a positive intention or quality you want to cultivate. For the weed, I am not interesting on my own, the seed might be curiosity and self-discovery. For my best days are behind me, the seed might be openness to a new chapter. The final and most important step is to write down one small, concrete action you can take this week to plant that seed. This turns an abstract idea into a real-world behavior. For the seed of curiosity, the action might be: visit a museum I've never been to, or listen to a podcast on a completely new subject. For the seed of openness, the action could be: go for a walk in a different neighborhood with no destination, or say yes to a social invitation I would normally decline. This log is not a one-time exercise. It is a living document. You can return to it weekly, noticing which weeds are getting weaker and which seeds are beginning to sprout. This is your personal blueprint for relandscaping your mind. There's no need to share the intimate details of your garden, but if you begin this practice, you might encourage others by simply sharing in the comments. Today, I started tending my garden. It's a beautiful way to affirm your new role as the conscious cultivator of your own well-being. The work of a gardener is never truly done, but it is not a chore. It is a loving, life-affirming collaboration with nature. There is a deep satisfaction in seeing an once-barren patch of earth begin to blossom. Because of your own patient care and intention, your mind is the most sacred plot of land you will ever be given. You cannot control the weather. The storms of life will come and go. But you can learn to pull the weeds. You can learn to enrich the soil. And you can, with your own 2 hands, choose which seeds to plant. The past may have left your garden in disarray, but the future of your inner landscape is unwritten. You hold the seeds. The sun is shining. The soil is waiting. It is time to begin. We have spent time as the gardener of our own mind. With patience and loving care, we have begun to uproot the thorny weeds of resentment and fear, and to plant the fragile, hopeful seeds of self-compassion and curiosity. This is beautiful, necessary work. It is the conscious creation of a new inner life. But in all this work, mending the cup, dropping the coal, tending the garden, there is still a subtle doer, an I who is healing, an I who is cultivating. For our final step on this journey together, we are invited to let go of even that. We are invited to discover what remains when all the doing is done. We are invited to return to the source, to the state before the carving began. Let us travel not to a place, but to a state of being. Imagine a master carver, a sculptor renowned throughout the land for her ability to bring wood to life. In her workshop, there are magnificent creations, fierce dragons with intricate scales, serene Buddhas with robes that seem to flow like silk, delicate flowers with petals so thin you can almost see through them. Each piece is a testament to her skill, her vision, her artistry. They are all beautiful, complex, and defined. One day, a young apprentice comes to her. He has seen her incredible works and wishes to learn her art. "Master," he says, "I want to create what you create. Teach me how to carve the dragon." The master smiles and leads him not to her carving tools, but to the back of the workshop where raw lumber is stored. She points to a large, simple, solid block of wood. It has no form, no features. It is not a dragon, not a Buddha, not a flower. It is just wood. Its grain is beautiful, its texture is solid, its nature is pure. In Taoism, this is called pu, the uncarved block. It is wood in its original, unconditioned, and powerful state of potential. Before you can learn to carve the dragon, the master tells the apprentice, you must spend 1 year in contemplation of the uncarved block. You must understand its nature. You must feel its inherent strength, its simple perfection. You must learn to see the wholeness that exists before a single chip is carved away. The apprentice is confused and disappointed. He wants to do something, to create, to carve. He doesn't want to just stare at a block of wood, but he respects the master, so he obeys. For a year, he lives with the uncarved block. He sits with it. He feels its solid weight. He traces the lines of its natural grain. He smells its raw, earthy scent. He learns its quiet language. At first, his mind is restless. He sees the block and immediately imagines what it could be. This could be the dragon's head. That could be its tail. He is constantly projecting a future identity onto it. But slowly, painstakingly, his mind begins to quiet down. He stops seeing what the block could become, and he starts seeing what it is. He begins to understand. The block's power is not in what it might be carved into. Its power is in its simplicity, its wholeness. It is complete just as it is. A dragon is beautiful, but it is only a dragon. It cannot be a flower. A Buddha is serene, but it is only a Buddha. It cannot be a dragon. Each carved object, in gaining a specific identity, loses its infinite potential. The uncarved block, however, contains everything. The dragon, the Buddha, the flower, they are all latently present within its simple, honest wholeness. It has no name, no function, no identity, and therefore it is completely free. After the year is over, the master returns. She finds the apprentice sitting peacefully beside the block of wood. He is not impatient or bored. He is serene. "So," the master asks, "are you ready to learn how to carve?" The apprentice looks up, a new, quiet wisdom in his eyes. He looks at the block, then at the master's intricate carvings, and then back at the simple block. "Thank you, master," he says softly. "I think I am beginning to understand the beauty of not carving at all. This journey from the complex carving back to the simple block is the final stage of our healing. We are all born as uncarved blocks. We enter the world as pure potential, as simple, whole beings. Our nature is just our nature. Then, life begins to carve us. Our family gives us a name and a set of beliefs, the first few chips. School carves us with labels like smart or shy or artistic. Friendships and experiences carve us further, shaping our personality, our humor, our tastes. And then a significant relationship comes along, and it is a master carver. This relationship carves us deeply. We are carved into the identity of a partner, a lover, a soulmate. We are carved into a we. Our edges are shaped to fit with theirs. Our habits, our dreams, our very sense of self are intricately carved to be part of this beautiful two-part sculpture. And for a time, this carved identity can be magnificent. But then the breakup happens. The other half of the sculpture is removed, and we are left looking at ourselves, a strangely shaped, intricately carved object that now makes no sense on its own. We have all these carved grooves and hollows that were designed to fit with someone who is no longer there. We feel incomplete, asymmetrical, and broken. Our identity as part of a whole has been shattered, and we look at our carved self and think, this is useless. It is ruined. Our healing journey up until now has been about mending this carved object. We used golden lacquer to repair the breaks, Kintsugi. We worked to stop blaming the carver, the empty boat. We started tending the small patch of land our sculpture sits on, the mind garden. This is all essential work. But the final, most profound step is to realize that you are not the carving. The intricate, wounded, and specific personality you see as you is just the surface. It is the collection of carvings that life has imposed upon you. Beneath all of it, beneath the name, the memories, the roles, the identity of the person who had their heart broken, lies the uncarved block. Your original nature, your essential self. It was never touched. It was never broken. It was never carved in the first place. The Taoist concept of Pu, the uncarved block, is an invitation to a radical undoing. The core insight is this: healing is not about becoming a better, more polished carving. It is about remembering the simple, powerful, and indestructible wholeness of the wood that lies beneath. All our suffering comes from our over-identification with our carved self. We believe we are our story. We believe we are our personality. We believe we are our pain. We cling to these carved features because it's all we think we are. To let go of them feels like annihilation. The spiritual path of return is a process of gently letting go of these identifications. It's not about destroying the personality or erasing memories. The master carver still valued her dragons and Buddhas. It is about shifting your primary sense of identity from the carving to the wood. Think about it this way: the wood can be a dragon, but the dragon cannot be anything but a dragon. Your true self, the uncarved block, can experience being a partner, a lover, a heartbroken person, a healer, a gardener. It can contain all of these experiences, but the experience of being heartbroken is just one temporary shape. It is not the substance of who you are. The substance is the silent, aware, and ever-present consciousness that was there before the relationship, that was there to experience the joy of the relationship, that was there to experience the pain of the breakup. And that is right here now, reading these words. That is the uncarved block. It is untouched and untouchable. This is why the apprentice had to spend a year doing nothing. He had to quiet his mind's obsessive need to do, to become, to achieve. This doing mind is the carver. It is always trying to improve the sculpture, to define it, to name it. The path back to the uncarved block is a path of non-doing. It is the practice of simply being. It is resting in the state of pure awareness before it gets carved into a specific thought or identity. When you can rest in this state, a profound peace arises. You realize that your worth is not dependent on your carved shape. You are not more valuable when you are carved into a happy person in a relationship, or less valuable when you are carved into a sad person who is single. These are just temporary forms. Your true worth is inherent in the wood itself. It is unconditional and absolute. From this place, you can look at your life's carvings with a new sense of lightness and freedom. You can appreciate the beauty of the love story you were carved into without clinging to it. You can see the painful marks of the breakup as just part of the sculpture's history without letting them define its essence. You are free to let life carve you into new, unexpected shapes because you know that none of them are the real you. The real you is the silent, solid, simple wood underneath, always whole, always free. Let's bring this home. Take a moment to consider all the carvings that you identify with, the label of your name, your profession, your roles, a son, a mother, a friend, and the powerful carving of the person who is healing from a breakup. Feel the weight and the shape of all these identities. Now, can you imagine the pure, simple wood that lies beneath all of them? Can you sense the quiet, aware presence within you that is observing all these roles without being any of them? The part of you that was there when you were 5 years old and is the same part of you that is here today. What would it feel like to shift your primary identity just for a moment from the complex, ever-changing sculpture to the simple, unchanging block? To know that no matter what happens to the carving, the wood remains whole. Our final invitation is the simplest and perhaps the most profound of all. It is the apprentice's practice of non-doing. It is an invitation to spend a few moments with your own uncarved block. Sometime in the next day, set aside 10 minutes. Find a place to sit where you will be undisturbed. This is not about achieving a special state. It is about an act of undoing. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. For the first few minutes, simply notice your body. Notice your breath. Notice any sounds. Now, I want you to silently, gently let go of your name. Just for these few minutes, you have no name. Let it float away. Then, silently, gently, let go of your history. All your memories, good and bad, the story of your life. Just for these few minutes, let it all dissolve. You are not your past. Next, gently let go of your future. All your plans, your hopes, your fears, your anxieties about what comes next. Let them go. You are not your future. Finally, gently let go of all the labels and roles you carry. Mother, father, son, daughter, friend, your job title, even the label of a person healing. Let them all fall away like outer layers of clothing. What remains? Don't search for an answer. Don't expect a lightning bolt. Just rest in the simple, quiet, aware presence that is left when all the carvings have been set aside. This is it. This is the uncarved block. It is not empty, it is full of peace. It is not nothing, it is everything. Just be with it. Rest here for the remainder of the time. This is the feeling of coming home. This is the final, quiet step. It is a return to the source. There is nothing to report or share from this place. If this practice resonates with you, the greatest acknowledgement is simply your own quiet peace. Perhaps the only thing to share, if you feel so moved, is the image that represents this state. A simple period. A symbol of stillness, of completeness, of the end of one sentence, and the peaceful pause before the next. The apprentice, in learning to love the uncarved block, did not reject the art of carving. He simply understood it from a new, more profound perspective. He understood that the goal of life is not to become the most perfect, intricate carving. The goal is to always remember the simple, indestructible wood from which you are made. The journey of healing from a broken heart is a sacred one. It breaks us open, it forces us to grow, and ultimately it can lead us back home to the one place we can never lose, our own essential self. You have walked this path with courage. You have mended the cup, let the boat drift, tended the garden, and sat in the quiet of your own being. You have arrived. You are not the broken carving. You are not even the beautifully mended one. You are the wood, whole, complete, and forever at peace. And so, our journey through these quiet rooms and open fields of the mind comes to a gentle close. You may have arrived here with a heart that felt like a shattered teacup, its pieces scattered by a storm. You walked to a riverbank and learned what it means to leave unnecessary burdens behind. You saw that the anger you felt was for an empty boat, and that the only one holding the hot coal of resentment was you. Perhaps now, the pieces of that teacup feel different. They are not glued back together to hide the cracks, but illuminated with gold, honoring the strength it took to break and to heal. The healing you sought was never about forgetting the story. It was about realizing you are not the story. You are the one who is listening. You are the sky, not the passing clouds. The silence you may feel now is not emptiness. It is presence. And when nothing else remains, peace remains. The sound of you returning to yourself.